Hey, and welcome to the Restaurant Coach Podcast. It is the cure for the common restaurant. I am so honored to be joined today with not only an amazing chef, but also I consider a very good friend because we share a lot of the same ideology. Chef James Avery. Chef, how you
What's
doing
up,
today?
Donald? How are
Things
you,
out
man?
things in Ashbury Park, man.
Things in Asbury Park are good. Things have turned around. Big difference from where we were 2 years ago. So
Telling you,
the
huh?
Jersey Shore is alive and well.
That's good to hear, baby. That's good to hear. Yeah. And the
Totally.
reason I got you on the interview today is because I follow you on Instagram, and if anybody doesn't follow Chef on Instagram, I'll put the link right here. You want to go check him out? It's Instagram. It's Chef James Avery. I put an extra capital V in there. I don't know why, but
We get the point.
it all works, man. But anyway, I was watching some of your YouTube stuff, and the thing, I mean your Instagram stuff, and the thing that got me going the other day, you talked about people like, especially these young chefs, thinking they have to sacrifice their life.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy. Why don't you elaborate on some of that? Because I think time management is again something that people just think that I got to do it like this, I got to do it like that, and that's a bunch of bullshit, right?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of bullshit. We believe a lot of these false narratives because
Mm-hmm.
you're slightly a little older than me, and when we were coming up as chefs,
Thanks,
it was
man.
like it was like Marco Pierre White, and it was like you thought
Oh
chefs
yeah,
had
yeah,
to work 18 hours, and
yeah.
and that may have been true at a certain time, but it's not true today. Between technological advancements and just the
Mm-hmm.
workforce and the way things are, you really don't have to do these 18-hour days anymore. I mean, I do them because I own restaurants, and when I'm opening a restaurant, it's balls to the wall for a few months. But I was talking to one of my sous chefs the other day, and he just seemed so burnt out, just so. And I'm like, what's going on? And he told me his work schedule and what he's doing. I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, what is going on? And listen, two things that you lack early on in your career is confidence and skill sets.
Exactly.
And a lot of times I think these younger chefs, they try to make up for it with time in the kitchen. Like if they're there, they just feel more confident that they'll get the work done, that they'll get the job done. Or if a task or a project takes them longer to do, having more time in the kitchen will alleviate that problem.
Mm.
Now, that might be true, but what I always say, the goal needs to be get it done in 10 hours. Like you got to, work fills the time allotted for it.
Yep.
And I don't like my guys working more than 50 hours a week. I mean, 40 hours a week, maybe you picked the wrong profession. I think I don't get going until 40 hours a week. But I mean, yeah, like there's a way to do balance, and it comes down to, and I prefer to look at time like money, right? Like it's a resource. It's money really is just an economic storage unit of your time. You spend your time somewhere, you get money in return, correct? You spend time building a company or a business, you expect an economic return. So money and time are almost interchangeable, and I have to view them both the same way. So what can you do with your money? You can spend it and waste it, or you can invest it and manage it. And I think that once you get that idea and you look at this finite resource that you have, it becomes much bigger. It becomes bigger in life. It becomes bigger with how you spend time with your family. And it really, once that is established at a subconscious level, you start acting in a different way. You stop wasting time. You stop going to work 3 hours early because you don't trust, something.
Right.
And that's really what I was trying to convey on my Instagram post.
Yeah, so let's slow down a little bit. Let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, James Avery, you own a couple restaurants in Ashbury Park. You own the Bonney and the Black Swan. And also, a lot of people might know you. And a lot of people say, hey, you look familiar. Where have I seen you before, right? Yeah. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I was on Hell's Kitchen, right? I was one of the chefs. I was one of the guys running around, yelled at everybody, was Ramsey and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about your background and what got you, to where you are today.
What got me to where I'm today? Well, I was a terrible student, and I loved to have my own money. So I would always be working. I started delivering pizzas at 17. Fast forward, I went to college, worked in restaurants. I finally made the jump to back of house. And, in New Jersey, I bounced around from job to job catering, but about 12, 13 years ago, I really made the shift of like going to Atlantic City, working with chefs like Michael Mina in their kitchens. I spent some time with David Burke, so some really big heavy hitter chefs. And I was able to network my way into the TV world, working as a consultant with Gordan Ramsey on a few of his traveling TV shows. And ultimately, in between opening like a half a dozen restaurants for other people and working for big companies like BR Guests and Chefs International here at the Jersey Shore, I found myself as his like right-hand man on Hell's Kitchen as the blue team sous chef. So I did that for many years, and then I finally decided I had a lot of children and 4 kids, and I consider that a lot. And I got tired of that traveling and living away from home, so I parlayed that into opening a couple of restaurants here at the Jersey Shore. That is a very fast-forwarded version of my bio, but so now I'm 41 and I'm starting my hospitality group, Nicely Done Hospitality. And currently are 2 restaurants under ownership and management, the Black Swan, which is our British gastropub, kind of a nod to my time with Gordan Ramsey and just a way to differentiate myself from all the, these kind of classic Irish pubs you see.
Yeah.
Then we also have the Bonney Reed, which is a classic, rum-driven seafood chowder house, classic, type seafood thing you'd expect to see at a Jersey Shore.
Yeah. I've been to your Bonney Reed before. It's a beautiful restaurant.
Thank you. Yeah. It's very special to me.
Yeah. So, of course, everyone's going to ask, the question everyone wants me to ask you all the time is like, is Gordan Ramsay really that mean?
He's very intense.
He's intense.
Look,
I met him
there's a level of personality, and you're on TV, but I wouldn't say, things can be dramatized, but that's who he is. He is intense. Again, I wasn't a contestant on the show. I actually worked for him on the show. We had a lot of on-camera and off-camera duties. That was an operational restaurant. We were doing things, and he had certain standards, and both on the production side and as well as the execution and the training of the chefs and the contestants. And it was intense, and he doesn't mess around. I mean, you don't get to where he is in life and what he's done as a chef, being soft, being easy on everyone, not being intense. I mean, the guy, I don't know when he sleeps. So being around him was pretty magical.
Yeah. It's like working for Wolf. Wolf was like that too. Wolfgang was very, very intense. I mean, you knew his standards, you knew what he expected. And as long as you maintained his standards, you were fine, man.
That was it. Oh, and always have an answer. Ask you a question, have an answer.
Just say, yes, chef. Yes, chef. I'm on it, chef.
Yes, chef.
Yes, chef. I'm on it, chef. I'm on it, chef. It's done, chef. I'm after it.
Totally.
So COVID set us back a little bit. Now, things are coming back around. Still got some supply chain issues. Now we've technically are entering a recession. Depends on who you talk to. Some people say yes, we are. Some people say we're not. Depends on who you're talking to, which side of the fence you're talking to. I'm going to say right now, though, that the industry is kind of getting rocked a little bit.
Yeah.
Where do you see the industry right now?
Man, just being the eternal optimist that I am, I really just try to put blinders up and tackle each day as it comes at me. Face today's challenges today. COVID, for the most part, is behind us, knock on wood. I can't worry about tomorrow. I don't even know what that's going to look like. So, and that's metaphorically speaking, right? Like, here's the deal today. What do I have to do today? I have to manage the world the way it is, not the way I wish it was. And that's how I look at it, to be honest. Like, I don't like blaming the labor market's so bad right now. The supply chain's messing me up. It's like, listen, problems like this aren't unique to us. If you look back throughout history, the early part of the 1900s, like, they had depressions, they had famine, they had these things happen, and people rose out of it. So I like to try to really work hard at keeping that mindset. Yes, we get shorted stuff all the time. We couldn't get aqua panna for like a month.
Are you serious?
Crazy stuff, just crazy things. Our French fries, people love our French fries. Lamb Weston couldn't get us our French fries. Like, things like that happen, but like, you can sit there and complain about it, or him and ha, right? Or you can just keep moving to the next solution. And I firmly believe that the people that keep doing that and have that mindset and that kind of mantra are going to be the ones that succeed and get to the next level.
Exactly.
Complaining about it does nothing. So I don't even
doesn't do shit, right?
I don't even let it like get into me.
That's it. That's it.
You know?
So what are some of the ways you've shifted your business models? Expanded hours, contracted hours, delivery.
Go ahead.
I mean, expanding hours or contracted hours.
So COVID had its own unique set of problems. You know, you had spatial issues. People, obviously we had outdoor dining, and being that we're at the Jersey Shore, the weather could be spotty in the summer, so we had to change our plating because we had to be able to quickly package the food to go. Shouldn't start waiting guests outside. We actually increased our seating capacity because we had more additional seating outside. So I hate the word dumb down the menu, but figure out a menu that we could quickly execute with minimal prep, because you didn't know if you're going to have 10 line cooks that day or 5 line cooks that day. Yeah. So you had to have things that were not as prep intensive. Listen, I'm a chef. I love making everything from scratch. I can do it. One of my favorite things to do at food shows is to find out like great products that I can bring in that take pressure off the prep team.
There you go.
And
that's smart.
And people can make fun of me all they want, but I tell you what, I'm fully staffed and opened a restaurant during a pandemic. And people love, we just won Best New Restaurant in New Jersey. So, and I make as much from scratch as possible, but there's things out there that, like guys making their own charcuterie. Like, are you still doing that? Like now, like there's great charcuterie you can get out there. You don't have to like cure your own salami to whatever. So, things like that. And then just now with like this whole supply chain stuff and prices just being astronomical, it's insane what some of these things are. Just, there's always something else. There's always another way to move. If lamb's expensive, you go to steak. And if filet is expensive, you go to skirt steak. And if skirt steak's expensive, you go to hanger steak. And you're just constantly bobbing and weaving. There's always something. There's always this, I'm of the mindset that there's always a solution. It's just our job to keep finding it. Yeah. During COVID, we weren't doing happy hour. We didn't need to. People wanted a place to go. People, for whatever reason, were happy to spend money. So I'm like, what? I'm having limited seatings. Things are crazy right now. Like we got rid of happy hour. Now, people's wallets have shrunk, and COVID, the restrictions have been lifted. So happy hour's back. So again, we're constantly looking for ways to keep the guest engaged, and to work with the staff that we have.
What do you think about the now? So a lot of my restaurants, I'll suggest to my clients too, like when the wallets tighten up a little bit. I'm a big fan of like doing the pre-fee menus. How a lot of places do restaurant week and they do the 3-course menu. I love doing those like during the weekdays and call it like a locals menu. How do you feel about pre-fee menus?
I think pre-fee menus are good. Logistically sometimes they're difficult. To be honest, I don't do them unless it's like a restaurant week or a certain I'm pairing it with like a certain winemaker that I'm trying to support. I really look at the bigger picture. Like, how can I put as much value on the plate? Where can I grab? How can I get my liquor vendors to say, hey, listen, how can I really reward people with like a great stiff cocktail that's appropriately priced, that's not, an $18 martini. And those are the ways I try to find value, really like working with different vendors and seeing whatever food product it is. Like, for example, I found this pork product. It's basically the meat that's in between the ribs. When they French the pork chops, they have like these little, it's almost like a boneless spare rib. So we braise them, then we fry them, and we toss them in like a little teriyaki sauce. And it's like $1.50 a pound. It's like literally, so it's like things like that you're constantly trying to figure out. That's how I navigate, through things. And again, happy hour's back. But pre-fee menus are great. We do them for holidays, like, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Easter. And we've had really good responses with them.
Well, you and I are both huge believers in leadership. And I think especially now as we're coming out of this pandemic, I think leadership in restaurants is critical. What do you think is the number one trait that a leader needs today?
I think, I always think the leader sets the standard. So to me, it's calmness, poise, and discipline. Nobody wants to be around a nervous, hurrying, anxious, sloppy leader.
Exactly.
I think you need, everybody wants to look at you as like this beacon. And I think even if you don't got it, you got to act like you got it. you know, like, and I think that's the most important quality: calmness and poise.
That's cool. And then, that kind of leads into my other thing about self-care. I know you and I both are huge believers in
Yeah.
self-care. What do you do to take care of yourself? And I'm going to kind of preempted that, like, one of the things I love, like, on your Instagram feed is like, a lot of times you go for a walk in the morning and you're just kind of like giving out these these thoughts and stuff like that pop in your head, and they're really great. So besides doing like the daily walk, what else do you love to do for self-care?
So, yeah, I mean, I love jujitsu and martial arts. I do that. I'm currently injured. So really right now I'm sticking to just like my morning walks, and I do weightlifting. So typically and again, we'll probably get into this at some point, but my routine is everything, right? I want to get into a state of flow within minutes of waking up. So, and the best way to do that is to get your first win of the day. So, I get up early, which I can now because I've changed some nighttime habits. We'll talk about that. But I get up early, I get my teeth brushed, I get my running shoes on, I go downstairs, I crush my water with lemon and salt. I have my black coffee ready to go. My wife is with me. We get out the door and we do our hour walk. Come home, get the kids up, get the kids fed. And then we have breakfast together. We talk about life. I'm already in this like almost like runner's high from just like, I go to the gym, and I've done 2 workouts, spent quality time with my wife and kids all before 11 a.m., 12 noon.
Yep.
And that's on the late side. So that does a lot for my physical health. It does a lot for my mental health. It keeps me on the path. And then, you're out, your exterior is a product of your interior world. And it's like having that, I bring that energy to work now. And that is like why I really do it,
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm a huge believer in culture, I always say culture flows down, doesn't flow up, and culture starts with you. Your energy, your attitude sets the tone for the team.
That's it. 100%. No joke.
So looking back over your life of the places you've dined at, what would you say is the best meal you've ever had?
Mike Cicciarelli's. My wife and I were out in, I've had so many great meals, to be honest. But one thing that I always tell people, like probably the best thing I've ever eaten was a Michael Cicciarelli's restaurant in Yountville. I don't know why the name is escaping my head right now. But my wife and I went there for our 10-year anniversary, and we got the it's a ravioli made with gnocchi dough, and it had the truffled cream spinach and the runny egg yolk in it, and it was like brown butter. It was just like heaven on a plate. But some of my favorite meals were like at Blue Ribbon on Sullivan in New York City. I love the old school stuff. Those are like, I love the old school. I love the restaurants that were in Gramercy Tavern and Gotham Bar and Grill, and I love those places.
I always say that the best meal I ever had was at Rick Tremano had a restaurant in Chicago called True. And I actually, Tremano's a friend of mine. He actually wrote the foreword to my new book coming out, Your Restaurant Culture Sucks. And I always like, dude, you don't understand. That was like the most amazing meal I ever had. And he's always, what I always find too, like chefs like you, the guys that are actually really, really good at their crafts, actually really, really humble. They're actually like, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. They actually don't have this ego about them. They're just like fun to hang out with, fun to talk to and stuff like that. I always just find that, you probably
ego will get you in trouble, man. Can't have an ego.
Can't have it, man. Ego, pride, and denial, baby. First, the 3 things that take down the restaurant faster than anything. I always come to 3 horse apocalypse, man.
Yeah, and chefs have them. I had one at one point.
I had one too, and in my 20s, that was horrible, man. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So we talk about labor. And and everyone says there's a labor crisis. I think you and I both believe there's not really a labor crisis. I think we have a culture crisis.
Yeah. And it's also having expectations.
Yeah. What do you think is kind of like the big problem these kids have about having to sacrifice themselves, for this for a career?
To be clear, you're talking about like entry level sous chefs or just people that are contemplating getting into the industry. Who are you speaking to?
I'm going to talk about people that have been in the business for a while.
Yeah, I just think they can't get it past their head that like the world has changed. Yeah. People have changed. Every generation bitches and moans about the next generation.
That's the truth. You ever notice that?
Every generation does. These kids are. I mean, somebody said that about my grandfather. He was in 3 wars. You know what I mean? Like, so like at the end of the day, yeah, like maybe they have a different set of, difficulties. So I think number one is learning how to relate to these people. So I know they want work-life balance. I know they don't want to spend 15 hours in a kitchen because they're looking at Instagram and they're not getting a really real perception of reality. But I know that's it's real to them. So I have to figure out how to manage my business to get these guys out of here in 8 to 10 hours. It is what it is. Nobody wants to work a 15-hour day anymore. So if you're going to sit there and pound your fist and try to get a square peg to a round hole, you're in for a long ride because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. It's called Parkinson's law. Work expands or contracts meet time obligated.
Yep.
And everyone has a horrible. I think most people, they suck at time management. They just have they just think that I'm busy all day, so I must be productive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's busy work and there's real work. You can be. It's basically you're looking for the right results. You got to be focusing on the results, what you're doing.
So how do you help manage? How do you help your team kind of teach them a little bit about time management? Do you give them a signed list? Do you give them prep lists with time sheets? How do you kind of help manage the madness of time?
Well, there's a lot. I have a lot of Chef Jamesisms that I've grabbed from all the books and things I've studied. But again, one thing is finding flow. Learning how to come in and just get your mind right. So when I'm driving to work, I tell these guys this: when you're driving to work, visualize your day. Yeah. Marco Pierre White even talks about visualizing the perfect execution. So as you're driving to work, think about what you're doing, how you're getting ready. Back in the day when I worked for David Burke, when we were doing these 13-hour days, and we didn't have a prep sheet, we didn't have lists. We had a menu that was scribbled on, and we had to figure out what our prep sheet was. And we just had to know what we were supposed to make for the day. And we got to a point where we would come in and the changing room was in the basement. So we'd come in and we'd get all of our pots of blanching water on in our street clothes because we didn't want to waste time. The water could be getting hot while we're walking downstairs. Really prioritizing your day. And again, going back to it's finite, it's fixed time, right? So it's a game. How much can you get done? How much can I get going? Multitasking is a bit of a myth. You can only really do one task at a time well. Exactly. But I mean, you can have water heating up while you're chopping your onions. If I see a cook mincing herbs and he's got nothing on the stove behind him, I'm like, dude, no. Yeah. You need to get some stuff going on behind you, and then you chop your herbs, So it's prioritizing tasks. When you're a line cook, I like my line cooks to come in, get everything they need on their station. So they're not stopping every 5 minutes to get a pot or a spatula. It should be it should be automatic. It should be almost at this point in time muscle memory. You come in, you get your pots, you get your pans, whatever it is you need for your station. If you're on the fry station, you have your baskets, you have your bowl for your calamari, whatever it is. And then, have your prep list, which is, by the way, on Excel spreadsheet. It's not a scribbled on menu. It's an actual thing that I've created. And then what I tell my sous chefs who try to shoulder all themselves, these cooks aren't any good. These guys don't know what they're doing. Yeah. Okay, well, have you taken the time to train them and actually show them? And have you put a quantifiable metric on that task, meaning that task takes 10 minutes? Don't bitch to me that it's taking them a half an hour. Did you show them a better way? And if you did I not show you a better way? Taking ownership of it, right? That's another big thing that you have to do. But, understanding the most important tasks that you have to get going first that take the longest, eat the frog, getting and then just prioritizing around that, and once you get into flow, it's good. So get your hardest tasks done first, get organized, get into flow, get moving, and understand how long each task should take you, and then you can measure it. And again, a lot of times it's people come in and they hurry and they just feel like they got to be going like this all day. It's they say slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So
exactly. So we say in the military.
Well, I have a lot of military things. OODA loop is another one I like. Observe, orient, decide, and act. That's what we use in hostile situations. Same thing in a kitchen. When shit's going down, stop, time out, observe, orient yourself, decide what has to happen, and then act on that. And then you loop it. You keep doing that constantly. So, because inevitably that's what's going to happen in a kitchen, right? A pipe's going to burst, or the plumber's going to shut, or an order's going to get delivered, or a cook's going to call out, or a cook's going to be late. And you're constantly but your attention has to go to the hierarchy of needs. What's the most important thing? So here's a great bit of that. Like, you have to know what your most important tasks of the day are.
Exactly.
I told my sous chef, who's constantly running around hurrying and worried about getting everything done, worrying about every herb being cut. I'm like, I have 2 expectations for you. Make sure that the prep sheet is completed, that the prep cooks completed their prep, and that you've tasted everything on the line. Because I don't want to find out during service that the vinaigrettes are too salty or too oily.
Yep.
That's it. Outside of those 2 things, everything else, you get to it when you get to it. And you've heard it from the horse's mouth. Don't worry about, what was left out last night. Don't worry about, putting every order away perfectly. We'll get to that. Right now, time is of the essence, and we got to get ready for service. Then once we're set for service, we can move on to, the ancillary tasks.
Exactly.
And that's kind of it. And it's just knowing what's important and getting on it.
So how many years have you been in the restaurant industry now?
17. I'm 41. What is that? 24 years.
24 years. So, and would you say you're just as motivated today or more motivated than you were when you started?
Motivation is fleeting.
That's what I was getting to.
I lose motivation all the time.
Yeah.
But I have a very strong burning desire to build a restaurant group. And that's what keeps me going. Yeah. So, there's days I'm not motivated. There's days I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do this today. But I recall, no, you want to build a restaurant group. You wrote that down, and it's on a piece of paper, and you look at it every day. So get up, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to kind of circle that back to that talk you had this morning on your Instagram about values.
Yeah.
How important are values to just keeping you focused on that front sight? And we talk about in the military, front sight focus. Yeah. I think your values are that front sight focus.
Yeah. It's, it's everything so it's like your health, your wealth, your family, and your home. Those are my priorities in life. I need to be healthy first. So staying up, drinking, binge watching Netflix doesn't serve me. Don't do it anymore. Okay. So it's like my health, my wealth. All right. My business is important. I got to make sure my finances are in a row, that everybody is doing what it's doing. The investors are happy so I can continue to grow. My health, my wealth, my family. So I'm spending time with my wife. What am I, a lot of busy people, entrepreneurs, chefs, even if you're not an entrepreneur, we have this tendency that when we're at home, we're mentally at work, and when we're at work, we're mentally at home, and we're constantly feeling guilty where we are. And I've learned to be like, my feet need to be planted firmly where they are. So that's how I handle that. And really, it's just having those values and having those lenses to look through when you're trying to make decisions of, is this the best use of my time? Is this serving me? Is this serving my values? Is this getting it? And again, I was talking today about should I or shouldn't I do this? You're asking yourself that, because it's not incongruent. You already know the answer. You're just looking for your ego to be like, hey, no, you should do this. Yeah, it's cool. Whatever. You skip your workout today. You've worked out the last 4 days, or whatever. Or let that one plate that isn't really up to spec go.
It's okay.
It's like, no, it's like, so having your values and what matters to you and why they matter, it's everything. I mean, it's everything. And when we get out of congruence with that, when we act in a way that's not in alignment with our values, that's what causes a lot of anxiety and resentment at work and all these things.
I remember having a conversation with a sous chef one time, and I was watching him, and he put a plate out, and I knew the plate wasn't right. And I asked him, I said, did you hesitate for a second? Did you think about sending that plate out? Because I know you stopped for a second and you hesitated, but you sent it out. He says, well, the guest didn't notice. I said, that's the problem. You did. Yeah. Yeah. That's the problem. You noticed it was wrong and you sent it anyway. That's the problem.
Yeah. Standards and discipline,
Totally.
Yeah. It's like, what was it? Henry Ford said, excellence is doing the right thing when nobody's looking, something like that.
Exactly.
It's more or less that's exactly what it is. I have this rule, nothing. If I see something on the floor, and I've done that since I was a busboy at restaurants, to this day, if I see something on the floor, I run to it to pick it up. And it's funny. There's times where I see it across the dining room, I'm like, all right, hopefully somebody else is gonna pick that up. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna go do it. And it's funny, I walk in the restaurant and people see me, they immediately start looking on the floor because they know if they see something on the floor.
Oh shit!
Chef's gonna freak out if there's a napkin or a straw or whatever on the floor. So it's funny. Yeah. But that's a great example of leadership and leading from the front, right? That wears off on people. Your good habits will wear off on people. And a clean restaurant is one of my values. So if I let that slide, if I'm like, like I'll think about it. I'll be driving home like I should have picked that napkin up. Should have picked that napkin up.
So that leads me to talk about culture. You know, my whole new book, Your Restaurant Culture Sucks, coming out in August. Hint, hint. All about culture. What do you think is critical to creating a great culture?
Family vibes.
There you go.
You know, I'm a really good angry dad. I don't scream at people. I do a very good, disappointed dad. And
yeah.
And I look. That's how I kind of take that role on. But that's just like a joke. But I mean, it's real. But really, like, there's no like my partner who was my general manager. He became my director of operations. I've now made him a partner. We're like best friends. We don't fight. If we do, we go sit outside. We have a very calm conversation. If we're not in alignment on a certain topic, but he and I are like best friends. We make jokes together. We honor, our kids are friends, and the front of house, back of house staff see that. We react that way. You know, he goes to bat for the back of house. I go to the bat for the front of house, and we don't tolerate that bullshit. We don't tolerate, it's the front of house. I said, you're not dealing with the guest. The guest is yelling at them because you took too long to cook their steak. Now they're getting screamed at. So relax when they forget to order a thing of, whatever, or say sauce on the side. Bud, relax. It's not a big deal. We'll fix it. So, like, foot on the pedal with that and making sure that, like, you're really driving that in everybody, that, like, we're all in this thing together. And family, like, and it does. Like, the bad ones weed themselves out. They're like the family will jump on them, or like they'll embrace the new guy or girl, and that's like critical to a restaurant. I feel like it's a family vibe.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. If you came with a warning label, what would your warning label say?
Holy smokes! What would my
It's an adult show, so you can use whatever language you like.
Yeah. What my warning label be like? Laziness. Don't be lazy, and don't make me tell you twice. I think I've really screamed twice. Listen, I have a temper. I'm human. I have high standards. I've definitely mellowed out. I'm 41 now. I'm not 31. When I was 31, I had a big temper. So, I don't know. That's a really good question. Warning label. Just don't be late, and don't like be blatantly lazy or sloppy or show that you don't care, because it's it's pretty evident that I care a lot, and when there's people around me that don't care, like I come out of the side of my neck.
Very cool. And how do you deal with stress? They always say
I mean, in the last, so to be told, like, COVID was a motherfucker.
Oh,
it was one of the hardest times in my life, and we were dealing with you name it. Like, a restaurant you couldn't do right as a restaurant owner. You'd yell at the people who wanted to wear masks, would yell at you. At the people who didn't want to wear masks, the people who wore masks, they said not going to go. And then you sprinkled in all this political divisiveness stuff and all these things that could possibly. I mean, I just was like up to here. I gained 25 pounds. I was injured at the time, so I wasn't training my body the right way, and I just succumbed to just like drink, not like alcoholic drinking, but just like not taking care of myself. I quit meditating. I quit going to the gym. I'd go from coffee in the morning and have an afternoon beer. Like, I was like, wait, I didn't have a glass of water yet. Today, I'm very aware. I'm grateful I went through that really stressful time. And I even opened a restaurant during that. And then shortly, so it was like COVID, open a restaurant during the pandemic. My father passed away.
Oh,
and
no.
It was like, It's but I'm just saying, like, these are all really heavy, a lot of anxiety. And I was just like, in February, like, this is not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
This is it wasn't incongruence. I looked at the mirror. I literally didn't recognize myself. Like, who is this guy? He's bloated. He's bloodshot eyes. His skin's all messed up. Like, I just looked like a different person. And I'm like, all right, I gotta like, it's more like getting back to basics. Like, start exercising, start, getting to bed early, chill out with the alcohol, start eating what I'm supposed to be eating, meditating. So it's this whole stew of things. But now today, I love all these new modalities, like the Wim Hof method. I do that. I'll do it after this podcast. I'll do it right in the middle of the afternoon to get grounded for dinner service. I'm currently on like a hiatus from alcohol, not because I own 2 bars. I'm not against people drinking. I'm not that. It's just for me, with where I'm at in life. I like to get to bed early. I like to get up early, and there's a lot of things I'm trying to do in a day's time. I'm working out 2.5 hours every day. sitting in front of the TV, you know, having a bottle of wine right now isn't really for me.
Yeah.
So I've mitigated that. I'm tracking my food. I'm you know, focused on my marriage and on my business, and I have all these things to keep my energy going, and it's really suppressed a lot of stress. And working out, I tell everybody I know now, I'm like, go for a walk. Don't tell me you don't have time.
Yeah.
I solve my wife's problems on my walk in the morning. Like I talk to myself and I do a quick minute video of whatever I was thinking about. I don't even bring AirPods with me. I just enjoy nature and walk down this path behind my house for like, you know, 4 miles. That really helps alleviate stress. And then knowing that at the end of the day, it's over. No matter how bad dinner service was, no matter how bad table 15 was, no matter who didn't show up, I'm home and in bed with my wife, and it could be way worse. And that gets the stress under management.
That goes back to, you know, just talking about gratitude. I think having an attitude of gratitude, one of the things I kind of have all my coaching clients do is every day the guys tell me, give me 3 things you're grateful for, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
And even, good and bad. You know, I think when you learn how to be grateful for like everything like that, that's just if, like, I said that on one of my walks. I'm like, you know, right now somebody left their house and they're not coming home tonight, or their spouse isn't coming home. Like, just be grateful for the day, you know? Be grateful that you have an opportunity to go to a stressful job. Be grateful that, you know, there's an opportunity for advancement. Like, there's so much to be grateful for, like so much, and focus on, you know, what you have. And it sounds cheesy. It really does when you tell people like, oh yeah. But if you really start to internalize it and digest that, it's powerful stuff. It really is. It's not just kumbaya.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
You know?
So when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Was it always a chef?
No, no. What did I want to be? I wanted to be an architect, but I graduated like 4th from the bottom in my high school. I don't even think I broke 1,000 on my SATs, so that went out the window. I loved animals. I still do to this day. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always knew that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my mom will make that joke. You know, I was always like the lemonade stand kid. I always was like shoveling snow. I've always had this very strong entrepreneurial itch. You know, I am a chef, but like my real passion in life is building businesces now and putting businesses together and leading people. It's just the flavor is I'm a chef and it's in hospitality.
Yep. Yeah. When actually, it's funny you said architect. I wanted to be an architect too, but then I realized I couldn't draw for shit. So I was like, you know, I can't even draw a straight line. Oh my God, man.
It's cool though. I mean, like, but I love it. Like, I designed my last restaurant, the Black Swan. Like, and I'm like, man, I really should have gotten into like how to do it. It's CAD, just like, cause like, I enjoy that process. I enjoy the build out. I'm there when my restaurants are getting built out. I had a fast casual. We ended up shutting down after, right before COVID. But I mean, I was there the day they started, you know, doing demo to the day they did the finishing touches, and I watched the whole process. It's really fascinating. But
so let me ask you a question about restaurant design. Then, what do you design first? Do you design the front of the house or the back of the house first?
Well, the first thing I always design is the menu. So at the top of the pyramid is the menu, and then that tells you, okay, well, what's the food? Like, what's the food need to be? And then you figure out what's the service need to be. So that kind of gives you an idea of the front of the house. So you have to build them in tandem to answer your question. Yeah. The simple answer is I build them in tandem. And then it's like, well, what equipment do I need to execute this? What's the square footage? Is it cocktail driven? Am I going to have, 12 service pieces for glassware? Am I going to have 6? Is it? So, really, no matter what you do, whenever I concept a design, or a restaurant, it's the menu first. What is the menu going to be? What does this area need? What is the market demanding? What's the price point? The price point tells me the service experience. The service experience tells me the textures and the feeling of the dining room and so on. So it just spider webs out from there.
I'm so happy you said that, the menu first, because I'm going to tell you, and you've done some consulting too. I would say probably 90% of my consulting gigs, they had everything done but the menu. And I'm like, you guys are totally ass backwards on this thing. Do you understand that now you're trying to fucking create a menu? It's like you said, a square peg, round hole.
Yeah.
Like, are you shitting me? You already got the kitchen equipment picked. Well, now I'm like limited by what the menu can be. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's like all of a sudden you want to be like a very big sauce driven. Like, okay, well, you have no room for a tilt skillet. And a lot of people too, it's like, Yeah, exactly. They just think like a 12-foot hood's enough for a 500-seat restaurant. It's like,
Yeah.
dude. So it's like the menu, and then you go, front and back and down and left, and it just kind of all comes together. But typically that's how I do it. And I'll even go one step further. I'll do all my back of house work first. So I'll be like, all right, here's the menu: apps, entrees, bum, 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 bum. And then I'll be like, I'll break each dish down onto a station setup sheet, which is like every component the dish needs. And if I highlight it, that means it's on prep. So let's say the sauce, it's on prep. And then I can build a prep sheet. Once I have my prep sheet, then I can design my kitchen. So I can't design a kitchen until I know what I'm making and what I need to make.
Exactly. So true. So many people don't understand that.
And
then they wonder why, like, the team has a struggle. You know what I mean? Execute.
They didn't consider all these things first. They have a heavy fry menu, but they have 135
one fryer. Yeah, one fryer. Or I did a consulting job for an Italian place. They had a 4-burner. Like, it ain't gonna work, man. Ain't gonna work,
By the time you put the pasta pot on there, you're down to 3 burners. Yeah,
so you're dead. You're dead.
Write your menu. That's how I do everything. I write the menu first, and then the menu kind of is like, all right, well, what is this going to stand for? Like, what are we? Are we a Ferrari or are we an F-150 pickup truck? Like, what are we? What is our customer pulling up in? What is, what does the feel need to be? Is it edgy? Is it cool? And like, it's the brand language. Everything starts from the menu. Like, look at it like this: we sell a product, and the product that we sell is whatever's on our menu, and then you go from there.
Yep.
You don't say, hey, like Nike didn't design the swoosh first. They didn't, they didn't design they designed the sneaker first. So if you sell food and drink, what food and drink are you selling? Then we'll start the design process.
That? That's so perfect. Yeah, this is so true. And like I said, I've been to the Bonney Reed before, and I have to say, like, when you walk in, it does feel like you're walking into like someone's like summer home. It's like an open atmosphere. The kitchen, you see everybody in there, you see the energy. The bars there. It's just like really super inviting, which I think has always been really cool about your concept. When next time I get out to the Jersey Shore, man, I gotta go to the Black Swan. So
yeah, Black Swan is really cool. You should check out the Instagram. It's been great.
Yeah.
Having a lot of fun because I really took it to heart. It's an old bank and
was it?
Yeah, and one food that I never really cooked was Indian food, and since it's like got this British vibe, we have tikka masala, ram rogan josh, we have dak tal, like all these different Indian dishes on the menu. So it's a lot of fun. It's a really, really traditional, shepherd's pie with lamb. A lot of fun stuff. So I'd love to have you in there to check it out.
It'd be cool, man. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I should be back East Coast probably beginning of the year.
Okay, cool. Well, make sure I know where you're speaking if you're doing like a speaking engagement.
The New York restaurant show. I usually speak at the New York restaurant show.
I'll be there.
I'll be at the Florida restaurant show in November.
I gotta start going to more. I took the last 2 years. I mean, the last restaurant show I went to, I saw you. It was at the U.S. Food Show at the Javits Center.
You know what I should do, actually, dude? I should get you to speak. I should have you come and speak at my Restaurant Success Summit. I have a Restaurant Success Summit every October here in Scottsdale, 3 days. I should have you come out and talk about some of the stuff we talked about today. About
I would love to.
You could persist. So yeah. So. All right. So, hey, I'm just announcing now, Chef James Avery is going to be speaking at my Restaurant Success Summit in October here in Scottsdale. Right. It's going to be 3 days. You're going to have a great time.
That's it. That's it.
Very awesome. So what's a book? I know you're like me. You love reading, and you've been getting some of the classics, lately.
Yeah.
What's a book, an audio book, or a podcast that you recommend that people listen to?
I can't think of whose podcast it is. It's How I Built This. So it's a lot of different entrepreneurs from different walks of life. Not just restaurants. I can't think of the guy's name. It's such a good podcast, How I Built This. So they had the CEO of Panera on there, super inspiring story, Chipotle. So that's a great podcast for business. I love Joe Rogan's podcasts. He has really interesting people, but everything's politically divisive today. I don't even know, but he's got a good podcast. Books, man, I read so many. What have I read? I just finished Endure by Cameron Haynes, and it just talks a lot about working hard. And his big thing is like he's a number one bow hunter in the world, and he's a fitness freak. He runs ultra marathons, and he goes hunting in the deep woods, and he just talks about like, I'm not a talented guy. I just work really hard, and I'll outwork everyone. So it's such I love it. I love how he. typically he's like, bow hunters are like these typical out of shape guys that just drink beer in the woods. He's like, I don't drink, I work out relentlessly, and it makes me a better hunter. So it's like, well, wow, what if I apply that to my life? Like, so that's a great book. Totally read it. And again, I Think and Grow Rich. I think everybody should read that. It's just a great book. And don't think about rich just in terms of money. Think about it rich in terms of your health. And you apply it to all things that you can be rich in. It's such a good book. And another good business book, Automatic Habits. Good one. Atomic Habits.
Good one too. Atomic Habits. Yeah, James Clear. Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. That's a great book too. So how can people contact you?
Easiest way is to direct message me on Instagram. But I do have a website. I'm getting ready to update that because there's some changes I'll be making. I'm going to start producing a little bit more content. One of the things that I found, is that I really want to help mentor some other chefs, like seeing how it is now. Like there's some kid probably in Kentucky who's working at a restaurant and just is all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to be in the restaurant world, and he can't find that right mentor, nor can he afford to get out. But maybe by following me or reaching out to me, I can help mentor him and kind of give him some lessons that I've learned in life. So I'm kind of in the process of not going to be the restaurant coach, but I'd like to kind of dovetail.
You could be the chef coach.
That's it. I could be the chef coach. Yeah. So you could get a hold of me at chefjamesavery.com as an email there. But really, the best way is on Instagram.
Yeah. That's how I messaged you to get on the show. As I messaged you on Instagram right away. I was like, and you're like, yeah, let's do it, man. I'm like,
it's funny. Instagram's another thing. Like for a guy that's like big into not wasting time, sitting there and aimlessly wasting time on Instagram is not really what I do. But I am always posting, and I do follow a lot of people that are like-minded. Like it's a great tool if you're using it appropriately.
Yes, exactly.
Following people like you, like-minded individuals, inspiring people. That's what I tend to do. But it's just like getting a text message. You get a notification, somebody messaged me, I usually get right back. So
perfect. Well, thanks, Chef. Thanks for being on today. I appreciate so much of your insights. Again, if you guys want, go check out Chef James Avery's restaurants. He's got the BonneyReed.com and also the Black Swan AP stands for AshburyPark.com. And of course, please follow him on Instagram at Chef James Avery. I cannot recommend following enough. He's like me. I love following like-minded people. And again, thank you so much, Chef. I hope you have a fantastic week. Hope you have a fantastic weekend in the Jersey Shore, and all the blessings to you and your family.
Thank you so much, Don. I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, buddy.